1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Like this. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Like this. Never say die. Never say die. Keep on. Never say die. Like this. Never say die. All of this.
In the midst of sorrow, you can see up and down. Of a right day to
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm your host and White House correspondent, joining you live here in LA, where it is it's a rainy day, a windy day, but it's a fall day, and we'll take it. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the socials at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am. As you know, fresh for you to follow. Also, if you haven't already, download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or just tell Alexa, tell her to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. I was just looking at a note from Brother Andy, our sound engineer, reminding me that, we need the rain. You're right. Part of the challenges that we've had in the region in recent years is we haven't got as much rain as we used to. And so thankful for the rain, right? Rain don't last always, right? Now, not only is it true that the rain doesn't last always, but it's also true that when you have an opportunity to come together in community, especially in times like this, you shouldn't pass that up, because opportunities like those don't last always. And that's why I'm encouraging everybody to go to KBLA1580.com to sign up for the Left Coast Forum. It's all going down at LA Trade Tech on October 25th. You don't want to miss this convening of progressive leaders, progressive organizations. It includes a keynote address from Dr. Cornel West, from Richard Wolff. A number of other progressive activists will be in the room. We like to say on the show, do what you can from where you are with what you have, but do something. And this Left Coast Forum is an opportunity for you to plug in to do something. There are lots of efforts afoot out there, and plenty of opportunity for us all to tap in. And so if you're looking for the place to go where there will be conversations that shape the future, then you want to be at the Left Coast Forum. If you're looking for a place to go where ideas go to get tested, then you want to be at the Left Coast Forum. And so go to KBLA1580.com today to register for free, and we'll look for you there. All right. Now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And in our second hour here, kicking off this segment of the show with a story that I think is going to be very important to people, not just in this region, but people in an industry that looms large. It's a big unknown. California Democrats on Trump's 100% tariff plan for foreign movies. What? What's that all about? Well, we know that U.S. film and television production has been hurt in recent years by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Hollywood guild strikes of 2023, and the recent wildfires here in L.A., but incentive programs have lured producers away from California to states such as Georgia and New Mexico, as well as countries such as Canada and even Great Britain. But Donald Trump responded last month by claiming that movie production, quotes, has been stolen from Hollywood and the U.S. and promising to slap a 100% tax on movies made outside the country. It was unclear how these tariffs would operate since movies and TV shows can be transmitted digitally without going through ports. There was also bafflement over what it would mean for U.S. movies filmed on foreign locations, or what legal basis the president would claim for imposing the tariffs. So, as reported by The Guardian, Trump has frequently called tariffs the most beautiful word in the dictionary and made them his go-to solution for economic problems. That's what he's done, but there's concern that if you shoot 90% of your films in a soundstage in Hollywood and need to pick up 10% on location, whether that means the entire film now would be subject to 100% tariffs. And so lack of clarity there. As I like to say, great headline, but where's the substance? Great headline, but where's the evidence that you can back it up? And so we'll be keeping our eye on this, as we know this is a very important story for folks in the LA region where our home station is located. Yesterday, you might remember I mentioned that Miss Major had passed away, but for folks who are less familiar, I want to share just a little bit more about Miss Major, the trailblazing U.S. trans activist and Stonewall veteran who died at the age of 78. As reported by The Guardian, Miss Major Griffin Gracie, a trailblazer of the transgender rights movement, longtime community organizer, and as I said, a veteran of the Stonewall riots, died on Monday. The activist died at her home in Little Rock, Arkansas, surrounded by family, the house of Gigi, and she was 78. And not only that, but in her 78 years, Miss Major was one of the U.S.'s most celebrated trans rights pioneers and elders, at the forefront of the fight for trans rights for more than 5 decades. She spent her final years providing a sanctuary for trans and gender nonconforming people in her conservative home state, while continuing to travel the country to rally for trans rights and meet with young trans people and other LGBTQ organizers. Miss Major, known by her first name, earned a reputation as an outspoken and fearless champion for the liberation of Black trans women, fighting for communities that have long suffered extreme discrimination and violence and have been neglected by the gay rights movement. And so today we are remembering Miss Major. We are carrying the baton. Carrying the baton forward, fighting for the rights and dignity of all people, including our trans brothers, sisters, and siblings. And so want to remember Miss Major, as we're also remembering D'Angelo, as we're also remembering Diane Keaton. So many folks who have shaped the culture, so many folks who have shaped the present and the future of America and the world. When we come forward, we're switching gears. We're welcoming back to the show Terrence Woodbury, co-founder of Hit Strategies. He's one of the nation's leading political pollsters. And we're going to have him take a peek beyond some of the biggest trending headlines and also share some of the insights that he's seeing in his research that may haven't broken through the news cycle as it should. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with my conversation with Terrence Woodbury when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MAJOR25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. Always a pleasure to have one of the nation's leading public opinion researchers with us to listen and to share what's trending and what's bubbling up. Please welcome Terrence Woodbury, the co-founder of Hit Strategies and also a former pollster for the Kamala Harris campaign. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Quartey. It's good to be here.
Well, it's always good to have you here. And so first things first, there's a lot happening in the country and a lot happening in the world. Let's start with what's happening overseas. President Trump did something that President Biden wasn't able to do, that previous presidents weren't able to do. He has brokered a peace deal between Israel and Gaza and seized on it. The White House seized on it very quickly. The president just coming back from a weekend visit to the Middle East, where he was in Tel Aviv, where he was in Egypt, along with so many other world leaders. Talk to us about this moment. Is this a lasting moment? Is this the thing that cements Trump's legacy abroad?
I'm not sure that this is going to win Trump a Nobel Peace Prize, but I do think that there are a lot of people that are relieved to see the ceasefire holding, relieved to see the destruction and pain in the Gaza Strip finally coming to an end. I do hope that this holds. I think that public opinion around Donald Trump's handling of foreign policy will be shaped by more than just Israel and Gaza. There's still an outstanding crisis in Ukraine, where Putin seems to be calling our bluff and pushing every red line. We just bailed out a failing economy in Venezuela at the cost of $20 billion. I'm sure that there's a lot of Americans here that wonder why we are bailing out Venezuela while our government is closed. And so while I think that this is a relief to finally end the pain and suffering in Gaza, I believe that his approval around foreign policy will be shaped by a lot more than just Israel and Gaza.
I saw Bibi Netanyahu during an address before the Knesset say that Donald Trump was the best friend that Israel has ever had. Was that a dig at President Biden?
I think that, since Donald Trump moved the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, he has been formalizing his place within the people of Israel. I think that Donald Trump's approval rating is much higher amongst Israeli voters than it is amongst American voters for things just like that, for his steadfast commitment, and frankly, for not committing to a two-state solution, to not recognizing Palestine as a state. That all of these things make him very popular amongst the people of Israel, but the two-state solution is very popular amongst Americans, right? American voters want to see this conflict come to an end in a peaceful and equitable way, and that would require the Palestinian people to have autonomy, to have authority over the way that their lives are governed. And we know that Donald Trump has made no commitments to that. We know that this peace treaty does not make any commitments to that two-state solution. So again, I think that this is very popular amongst voters in Israel. I think the verdict is still out about how popular this will be amongst the American people.
Let's talk about the human toll. There have been thousands of deaths among Palestinians. We have seen a number of Israeli hostages killed. We know that as a result of this deal, all 20 of the surviving hostages in Gaza have been released. We also know that Hamas has pledged to release hostages in exchange for 250 prisoners serving life sentences and more than 1,700 Palestinians detained after the October 7th terrorist attack. Talk to us about what this deal might do, not just in the Middle East, but around the world, particularly here in the United States, to ease tensions between folks that believe in their heart of hearts that we just witnessed one of the world's greatest genocides, and folks that believe that this was simply Israel asserting its right to defend ourselves. Will this deal, or could this deal, be a balm in what feels like an open wound among people of conscience around the world?
Yeah, look, I can speak for the public opinion of the folks that I talked to here in America, and there were young people that were very mobilized around the conflict in Gaza, very mobilized around what they perceived as to your point, one of the greatest genocides in history. Almost 70,000 Palestinians were murdered, and all 2 million were displaced. And so, look, I think, again, there is tremendous relief that the pain and suffering has ended, but that is not the end here, especially for the people that have considered Palestine to be their top issue. That for the young voters and many voters that I talked to in focus groups in Michigan who saw Palestine as their number one issue, for those voters, just brokering peace is not the end of justice, right? They expect, if this was in fact a genocide, then someone must be brought to justice for that, right? They expect that aid, not just that bombs stop falling on Gaza, but that aid can finally make it into Gaza, that we can not only relieve the bombs and overhead, but that we can relieve relieve the pain in hospitals for folks that have not been able to get medicine. And so, look, the work is there's still a lot of work to do here. And then finally, even after we have relieved we have ended the bombing, we have relieved the pain and suffering of starvation, then we have to get to how do the people of Gaza govern themselves. I've been to Palestine. I've been to the West Bank. I've met with the Palestinian Authority, and they are prepared to govern and to lead the same way they're doing in the West Bank. But that's the rest of the work that has to be done. And frankly, I've not seen any commitment to that work from Donald Trump beyond signing a piece of paper and ending the bombs that would, hopefully position him for a future Nobel Peace Prize someday. And I would implore that there's still so much more work to do here, namely in delivering that aid, but also in how do we broker a two-state solution that allows the people of Gaza to govern themselves.
And also so much work to do to repair some of the fractures that exist, even in our American politics. I'm sure you saw the clip that I saw that went viral, former Vice President Kamala Harris having the last word for protesters who tried to disrupt her book tour event in Chicago the other day. During that event, a protester really tried to call attention to her handling of Israel's war in Gaza. But Vice President Harris said, "Are you the same person who was telling people not to vote?" Is that response helpful? Is it clarifying as folks maybe attempt to heal and move forward?
Look, I think that I have questions for the protesters that want to protest the vice president's handling of Gaza. The vice president does not have any war powers. The vice president does not have appropriation powers. The vice president could not continue or end a war on behalf of America. And so, I question exactly what they are protesting there, especially now that she is not vice president, that she has the exact same amount of power and authority that many of us have as voters, and why there is not more of this energy towards Donald Trump that is offered to build luxury hotels in Gaza and called a beautiful vacation place space. That we have to hold both sides accountable, but both sides are not equally complicit here. And so I do expect that there will continue to be questions about this. Now the invasion of Gaza has ended. The occupation of Gaza seems to be about to begin. And I believe that there will continue to be, for the folks that were concerned about the invasion, I don't suspect that they will be any less concerned about the occupation.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's all about where this thing goes. And to your point, there's a peace deal on paper, but it's up to the people to make it real. It's up to the people to adhere to what's on that paper. We know that there have been stops and starts where we've seen things look like they're beginning to turn the corner, only for somebody to violate the deal, right? And so we hope that won't happen. We've talked a lot about what's happening overseas. Let's talk about what is happening in this country right now. We know that U.S. consumers are bearing more than half the cost of tariffs. That's not the world according to Nii-Quartelai. That's the world according to Goldman Sachs. Also, we know that the U.S. measles cases are continuing to climb. And so here in the United States, if we do the split screen, President Trump, major achievement overseas, brokering this Israel-Gaza peace deal. But here at home, we got the mass deportations. We got federalizing, law enforcement. We got an administration that is playing footsie with the Insurrection Act. Meanwhile, consumers are paying more and measles cases are going up. How come it seems that none of this is sticking on this president or the Republicans for that matter?
Yeah, look, Donald Trump has a historically low approval rating. 33% of Americans approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing. 58% believe that that the country is going in the wrong direction. But my concern about that approval rating, while it is, 14, 15 points lower than Donald Trump's approval rating at the same time in his first term, it is the exact same approval rating that he had in April of 2025, which means over the past 4 or 5 months, despite mass deportations, despite demanding for indictments of his political opponents, despite tariffs that are skyrocketing cost for the American people, that Donald Trump has a 33% approval rating in September of 2025, and he had a 33% approval rating in April of 2025. And so to your point, Nia, about why is this not sticking, Americans are frustrated with the direction of the country. They're angry at this shutdown. And yet Democrats have not figured out how to make Donald Trump pay a price for this, right? And the way to put up points before Election Day is to reduce his approval rating, reduce his favorability amongst the folks that Republicans are going to need to vote for them. We still have a lot of work to do there to demonstrate to the American people not just the pain that is being caused, but who is responsible for that pain, so that they know who to take it out on in November 2026.
And so, talk to us about what are the mental hurdles that Democrats need to clear in order to create that stickiness with a message to voters, as to, who is to blame for all the reasons why they believe this country is headed in the wrong direction.
Look, so first we have to know who we are communicating with. And look, I've been arguing for a long time, Doctor, that the new swing voters in this country, the voters that are determining the outcomes of these elections, that determined the outcome of the last election, and that will determine the outcome of the next election, are young people and men of color. That these are the voters that are swinging the most, of 7 to 10 point swing just from 2020 to 2024 among some of those groups. And so we have to figure out how do we resonate specifically with those voters. The other thing that we have to do, though, is to begin to reject this false choice. This is the hurdle. One of the biggest hurdles that Democrats have to get over is rejecting the false choice between talking about kitchen table issues or talking about identity issues. That it's a false choice. It's a forced choice that we are forcing on ourselves. And frankly, that is not the reality that we live in. The Republicans, specifically MAGA Republicans, are using identity issues like gender and race and DEI and sexuality to define people's reality about their economics, right? The reason you have economic pain is because of these other people, these other identities that are not like you. And so Democrats are going to have to reject that false choice. We do have to talk about the multiracial society that we want to forge. And we have to talk about how that multiracial society can thrive in the next economy. And we cannot do those things separately. And we certainly can't do those things if we are forcing between that false choice.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Former President Barack Obama is featured in a new ad urging Californians to back Proposition 50, a Democrat-led redistricting measure that's now facing criticism.
One of the things that the Yes campaign is trying to do to confuse the issue is they're making you think that somehow this impacts what's going on elsewhere.
Republican Rep Kevin Kiley questioned Obama's involvement, noting he's proposed a bill to ban mid-decade redistricting that House leaders have not taken up. The Senate has rejected a Republican spending bill that would have ended the government shutdown, the 8th failed attempt. President Trump says he's closing programs favored by Democrats, while Democrats push to extend Obamacare subsidies. And rapper Nicki Minaj says nearly $25,000 in fraudulent charges were made on her Amex account. She shared screenshots on Instagram, hinted at possible leaks, and confirmed she's filed a police report to hold those responsible accountable. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
It's a tough drive in the Sepulveda Pass due to a car fire. This is on the 405 northbound before Skirball Center. It's blocking the two, or it has only the two right lanes open. Big delays out of West LA getting away from Wilshire Boulevard. Another tough spot is Sun Valley. The earlier big rig crash on the 5 northbound at Sunland Boulevard. It's blocking the two right lanes. And that's backing the drive up away from San Fernando Boulevard. Tough in Alhambra with a wreck that's wrapping up on the 10 1 eastbound at Atlantic. They're clearing it out of lanes and delays are backing up out of City Terrace from City Terrace Drive.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Luka Doncic is making his preseason debut with the Lakers tonight in Phoenix. Doncic sat out the Lakers' first 3 preseason games. Lakers fans will get their first glimpse of a new-look Doncic, who has slimmed down significantly after going through a diet and conditioning program in the offseason. 7 p.m. tip-off tonight on Spectrum Sportsnet. The Rams are unsure if wide receiver Puka Nacua will be available for next Sunday's game against Jacksonville in London. Nacua suffered a sprained ankle in the first quarter of the Rams' win at Baltimore on Sunday. Nacua leads the NFL with 64 catches. The Associated Press Top 25 preseason women's college basketball poll is out. UCLA is in the top 5 at number 3. Also in the top 5, UConn, the defending national champs, South Carolina, Texas, and LSU. First game for UCLA is November 3rd against San Diego State. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Hit me! National News The Consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
I mean, the whole multiracial society piece, you would think in the months after the November 2024 election that we weren't a multiracial society. I mean, you look at how corporate America has responded in mass, not everybody, but in mass. Look at the capitulation that we've seen from law firms, from universities. Let's talk about this multiracial democracy of ours. Is this multiracial democracy, is it still within reach? Or have a critical mass of people in power, influence, and authority, have they given up on the fight for a multiracial democracy altogether?
Yeah, look, it is within reach, Doctor, and it's going to come about whether we like it or not, right? America is diversifying rapidly. Millennials and Gen Z now make up a majority of the eligible electorate, are under the age of 50. A majority of voters, eligible voters in this country, are under age 50, and those voters are already majority minority, right? Millennial and Gen Z are already living in a majority minority nation. The problem is that our government doesn't reflect that. While millennials and Gen Z are 52% of the electorate, they're only 13% of Congress, right? And so when young people take their rightful place in the body politic and begin to lead the country that we are inheriting, I do think that we're going to be able to forge this multiracial, multicultural, and multi-generational society. But that is going to require us to reject the old world, reject some of those old rules. One thing that we have seen Donald Trump do, and this is what people are telling me in focus groups, even people that disagree with the outcomes he's pursuing have been impressed by the means, by the efficacy, by the force in which he is pursuing his agenda. That he's not just using legislation, he's using the power of his pen, he's using the bully pulpit, he's using academia, he's using museums. I mean, he's using everything at his disposal to forge the new world as he sees it. And now Democrats are going to have to come along and not fight to get the old world back. It didn't work for many of us. Voters don't want to get the old Department of Education back. They don't want to get the old Medicaid back. They want to build something new, build something better, and build something that works for this multiracial society. And I do believe that young people, young leaders in Congress, young leaders that are leading cities and counties around the country, that they are beginning to forge that world. And I hope that we can do so in collaboration. But one way or another, we won't be able to reject the diversity and the new world that is coming about, especially as we see Donald Trump and his MAGA colleagues scorching earth to the old world as we knew it.
Point well taken. Multiracial society, whether we fight for it or not, based on demographics, we are inherently a multiracial society, whether our government reflects it at the moment or not. When we come forward more with Terrence Woodbury, the co-founder of Hit Strategies, I want to pick up on this old world versus new world. You and I talk a lot about this, both on air and off air, the radical imagination that this moment demands. More when we come forward with Terrence Woodbury.
Striving to make America a nation as good
You are
as
listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in a blocking disaster relief and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. He is the Terrence Woodbury, co-founder of Hit Strategies, former pollster for the Kamala Harris presidential campaign. He's worked with Democratic candidates, progressive organizations across the country and even abroad. And he's with us today. I want to pick up on a conversation that you just teased up a moment ago about the old world versus the new world. I recently read a piece in Pasadena Now. It's one of the local publications here in LA about some of the challenges that they're having with the Pasadena school district that is staring down $150 million deficit. A lot of contributing factors there, including the loss of COVID dollars and the loss of wildfire dollars. But ultimately, it's a structural deficit. And, Terrence, I was thinking about this and said, why does this story not sit well with me? And I think part of the reason why it doesn't sit well with me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, is that, Democrats, in my view, you can't be a champion for government if you don't deliver best in class governance. And stories like this, that have nothing to do with Trump, really, right? You can't put $150 million deficit on the new president who's been in office less than a year, right? And so this dovetails with some comments that President Obama made recently about, Democrats in their blind spots. And, we've got to take some ownership. And to your point earlier, look forward boldly, practice some radical imagination. And so talk to us about this new world. And what is your message to not just Democrats or independents, but folks who are deeply opposed to what's happening and are bold enough to reimagine the future that we deserve?
Yeah, Doctor, listen, this is going to be a little bit wonky, but I know your audience here at A More Perfect Union can go with me here. Because the way that I've been describing this, that, we had the old world, the status quo world that we had up until Election Day that just didn't work for most people. It was status quo. The rules felt like they were rigged. The institutions felt like they were old and clunky and weren't actually meeting the needs of people. And what we saw on Election Day, Doctor, was that Republicans and frankly, some Democrats voted to burn that world down. They did not want it anymore. The world that we are now seeing, that we're living in, is a world that's being forged by MAGA, this Project 2025 world where the old rules don't apply, the old institutions don't apply, the old Constitution even does not apply. That's why we see them moving with such brazen authority because they are moving towards a world to forge the world as they see it. And I've been arguing to Democrats that in this next election, we are not going to be able to mobilize our voters to get the old world back. They don't want to restore those norms. They don't want to restore those rules, even though they felt safer than where we are today. But we can mobilize our voters. And frankly, I believe we can mobilize a lot of Republican voters to build a new, better world where we can reimagine the rules, where we get, and some of this takes political imagination, Doctor, that's frankly been hard for me to pull out in focus groups because people can't imagine something that we've never seen. But we can live in a world where there's not big money in politics, where our campaigns are publicly financed. We can live in a world where the person that gets the most votes wins, and there is no more electoral college. Mm-hmm. We can live in a world where redistricting happens at a national level based on national census and is not up to political factions within each state to pick their voters and instead allow voters to pick their leaders. We can live in this world, and I know we can because Donald Trump has already done a lot of the work of burning down the old world. But the new world is going to take imagination and courage. And frankly, it's going to take leadership because it's going to be hard. It's going to be scary getting there. But I think we can mobilize a multiracial, multi-generational, older people, younger people, Black, white, Latino, API to forge a world where the rules finally work for all of us.
I mean, as I hear you lay that thing out, I think Terrence Woodbury for president.
I like to elect these presidents. I never want to be one.
No, but I mean, and I'm sure there are a number of our leaders, learners, and listeners that are tapped in that have the same feeling, like, wow, like yeah, I want to be a part of that. And when I look out on the national landscape, right, certainly the leaders that are getting the most attention aren't sending that feeling up and down somebody's leg, right? And so talk to us about, not just the communications challenge, but it seems like a mindset challenge. I mean, a lot of people say that, Democrats have never really been great with message. And I think this isn't about message. I think it's about mindset. And I can tell you, just coming off of the Congressional Black Caucus, that there were a lot of folks there that were simply underwhelmed. They were underwhelmed, not because there isn't talent in the CBC, not because people don't have confidence in the CBC, but because the mindset it feels like the same old among the Democrats. Meanwhile, the Republicans are energized. They're nominating young people. They're hiring people on potential. They're hiring people based on their allegiance to their movement principles, based on the MAGA mindset, right? But still, almost a year after the election, why is it that folks on the left, that folks in opposition seem so unable to do exactly that?
Well, look, Doctor, there are certainly messaging gaps within the party, and I work with many of the leaders in the party, and I'm working to try and close some of those messaging gaps. But I agree with you, it's more than just messaging. This is a mindset shift, a shift from fighting a new world's back. We are living in a new world with new rules and new norms. But far too often, Democrats are still trying to fight in that world with the old world's rules. They want to fight in that world with press conferences and press releases and Robert's rules, procedural challenges. And we are going to have to get creative to fight in this world, but also we're going to have to beat them in the world that they are building by their own rules. That's why I support Gavin Newsom redistricting in California to combat the redistricting that happened in Texas. That's why I support candidates raising a shit ton of money. I didn't want to work for a campaign that raised $1 billion in 30 days, but we have to beat them by their rules in their world. But the only way to inspire the next world is to assure people that while we have to beat them by their rules in this world, there's a better world waiting. And in that world, The money is out of politics. I'm gonna raise $1 billion now so I can beat them by their rules. But I want to get this money out of politics. I want to get electoral college out of politics. I want automatic voter registration so that governors can't, states can't choose who gets purged from roles just because they forgot to vote in the last election. That if we can inspire people to believe in that next world, then I think we can inspire them to be a part of this opposition to this world, and not just the minority party, but the opposition party that is opposing the world that's being forged, but more importantly, pointing toward the future of the world that we have to build.
I believe it. Look, they don't call it a more perfect union for nothing, right? I mean, this is a part of that work, generations of work of building a more perfect union. Terrence, in our remaining minutes with you, I want to give you an opportunity to share with us something that we don't know. You are sitting on troves of data and public opinion research insights from across the country, particularly when it comes to Black voters and millennial voters. Tell us something that we don't know. Is there something bubbling up that we're not talking enough about in the media at the moment?
Look, this may be a small thing, but because I know who your audience is, I think they're important audience for this. And that is, we've been doing a lot of work around how to build a more robust resistance. How do we mobilize the level of protest and resistance that we saw in the streets in the summer of 2020, the summer of unrest, the summer of George Floyd, when there were protests in every city in America? Why haven't we seen that yet? And what can we do to mobilize it? And so I've been in focus groups with a lot of folks that are on the front lines of those resistance, asking them what they're waiting on, why are they not resisting? And one of the things that we're finding, one is that people don't want to resist, they want to fight back. That resistance sometimes feels like violent language. In fact, in one of the focus groups, I had a Black man tell me, every time I hear the word resistance, all I see is stop resisting, stop resisting, stop resisting, with police violence on our bodies. And so fight back, I think, is more empowering, and it kind of points to what we have to do. But also, folks need to know that we have each other's back. It requires a collective action and collective shared fate, that we are in this thing together. Because what Donald Trump has demonstrated to his protesters, to the January 6th terrorists that climbed the walls, is that the walls of the Capitol, is that he would use the full force of the federal government to protect them. And our folks, in order to come out in the streets and stand up the level of resistance that we're going to have to, they have to know that someone's got their back. And I think that's a FUBU message. That's for us, by us. We got us. We gonna defend us. And I think that's the closing message I would leave with your audience.
Our thanks to Terrence Woodbury, co-founder of HIT Strategies. While you're listening to and streaming a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580. You were just listening to my conversation earlier with Terrence Woodbury. Terrence was dropping some gems, and he would know because he is constantly churning out new research, constantly polling folks from across the country, particularly Black folks, millennial, Gen X folks, Gen Z folks, and I guess some Gen X folks. And so I always enjoy talking with him and sharing those insights with each and every one of you. That is our show for today. But again, we want to remind folks that go ahead and tap in and register for the Left Coast Forum that we're putting on October 25th right here in LA. There are lots of insights that Terrence shared that might have got you a little worked up. And it's okay to be a little bit worked up. It's also okay to roll up our sleeves. It's also okay to come together in community to figure out, okay, what can we do about it? And so go to KBLA1580.com and register today for the Left Coast Forum so that you can be a part of that experience. I'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village helps us produce a more perfect union. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, Brother Andy, to our show producers, Faraji Muhammad, Art Sears, Journey Burris, and of course, each and every one of you. We curate the show every day with you in mind. Remember, don't panic, organize, do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.